What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence. I am Jack Allen. Nice to see you. Glad to be back. Last week, if you didn't notice, I didn't do any shows. And if you're watching live, you will see it's because I am tan and looking like I spent a few days in the sun, and which is absolutely correct. I was on my honeymoon with my newlywed Miss Liv Allen, joining the conspiracy crew. Officially, she is the newest member, part of the Thought Criminal team. She's excited. She is excited to be here. She's excited to be a part of this amazing group of people, the Thought Criminals, the thought evil, most evil people in the world, people that dare to question the United States government and its allies. What a group to be a part of. So I am so happy to see you guys, and I'm sure some of you will start teetering in. That's weaseling in. I don't know, following in the show. So I'm excited to see all my friends that always stop by in the chat. So, oh my God, and I forgot for my show. Everyone, I am Jack Allen, Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence. Go follow me at Kojak Podcast. Shout out Dave. What's up? My farmer, my Alabama farmer friend. And DDXY2K. What's up, dude? Thanks for coming. Nice to see you guys. So yeah, so honeymoon. Carl? Oh man, Carl. I feel like I haven't seen you guys talk to you guys or whatever in so long. So it's so nice to see you. So before we got a fun show, we're going to talk about The Search of the Manchurian Candidate by John Marks. What's up, Surf? What's going on, dude? Thanks for coming in. So everybody knows MK Ultra, and I'm gonna. Before we get into them, just everyone knows about MK Ultra. Everyone knows about Mississippi, Dave. I was corrected, my man. I'm sorry. But everyone knows about MK Ultra. Everybody knows about mind control. But this book, I'm really enjoying it. I took a break from Phoenix. It was too like military, like guerrilla warfare tactics and not enough like conspiracy. It wasn't like exciting enough. So I'll hopefully come back to finish. I'm like 70% done. But so the sip. I like the sip. But Manchurian Candidate by John Mark. So it's awesome because it goes into like the history. Because when I think MK Ultra, I immediately think LSD and all that stuff like that. And he gives a breakdown of how this all created step by step. So we're going to get into that. Before I started the show, I just wanted to tell one story from my honeymoon. And it was almost like so if you guys have never been to the Caribbean, I'm not a traveler. I'm not a world traveler. I don't know anything. So we got there and we rented a car stupidly because we didn't know what to do. Our hotel or resort or whatever was like 45 minutes away. So we have to drive on the left-hand side of the road. So I'm driving, and dude, there's just chickens everywhere. There's like, I'm not exaggerating here, in St. Thomas, like 70% of these beautiful houses, they're like up on the hill with these great views. They're like built to shell, but they're not done. And when we get there and I'm just seeing like, it literally was like a third world country. And I'm telling to Liv, because we usually go to Cape May for the summer, which if you guys don't know, her family went there. It's very like hoity-toity. It's like the hoity-toity of the Jersey Shore, maybe number 2 wealthiest like beach behind like Avalon. But oh yeah, so we're Rosalind, hello. So we're driving on the left-hand side of the road, little stressful, right? And I'm just seeing all these like rundown houses, cars on this broken down that are like on blocks, and we're like, where the hell did we come? And so we get to finally to the hotel after a 40-minute drive, and we're scared, dude. We go to the first beach the first day, and they're like selling weed. You're like, all these hustlers, people hustle chairs, people hustle being your waiter. All these food restaurants are like, definitely wouldn't pass food inspection things here. But after that first day, like this culture shock, we loved it. But my only story that I want to tell, Gregory, thanks for coming, dude. It was like a godsend moment, guys. Like I know that but anyway, I'm just kidding. So Liv, the last day, she's like, she's on the internet, TikTok or whatever. And there's like this secret beach in St. Thomas that got destroyed during a hurricane. So no one goes to it. It's like you can't, there is no like parking lot or anything to get there. It's like you have to hike through the woods or whatever you want to call it in St. Thomas. But the wood, like you have to hike through these trees and no road or anything for like 25 minutes to get to this very picturesque beach. So of course, being the loving husband that I am, I say, of course we can go do that. So we drive down. So you have to park in like this apartment complex parking lot. And there's like 3 small apartment like only like probably 80 people live there, right? So we park in the driveway and there's a beach there. We walk to the beach because that's how you have to get into the forest to go to the other beach. And so we're standing there like taking photos or whatever. And Liv's back is turned and I see a pit bull charged, like sprinting at us. And I don't trust pit bulls. I'm sure some of you guys have pit bulls, and I'm sure yours is very nice, but you know, they're scary, right? So this pit bull's just charging Liv. I say, Liv, watch out. And I like go to get in front of her, and the dog, super friendly. Okay. He's like, you know, wagging his tail, all these, not even jumping on us, being very friendly. And I said, okay, fine. So then we're about to leave, and another half pit bull comes charging as well. And I said, oh my God, watch out. And he's friendly. And so we're like, what the, this is so odd. They don't have collars on. They're just these random beach dogs pretty much. And then I see a lady in the apartment complex, probably like 150 yards away. She like comes out of her house. I'm like, oh, that must be her dogs. Surprising. She just lets them roam like that. She waves to me. I wave to her back and she goes inside. And I was like, okay. So we start our trek into the woods and these dogs are following us, right? And then we get into like the entrance of the woods. We have no idea how to get there. Like there's no MapQuest or whatever ways that you just like, we just read, you got to walk through the woods. We knew where the ocean was. So we figured we could probably just, you know, like kind of go along the way. So the dogs start walking in front of us. And this hidden beach is 2 miles away from where we parked. For these 2 miles, these dogs led us to the beach. They hung out with us for 35 minutes on this like this abandoned beach that nobody's on. We took photos, blah, blah, blah. They like there was a rope swing. Every time you try to sit on the swing, the pit bull would sprint out of nowhere to grab on the rope swing. But they hung out with us for 40 minutes, 2-mile walk. And then when we say, all right, it's time to go, we don't even know how to really get back. We just followed these dogs. They take us back to where we parked. And I know that that's like not that crazy of a story, but it kind of like, dude, these collarless dogs led us to the beach. Like, how did they know we were like, it wasn't like I said, it wasn't like a road that we were walking. We were walking on in the literal dirt, like this forest that you got to climb through trees and stuff. And these dogs led us home. And I know that that's not, you know, in my mind, I took it as like almost like maybe our ancestors or her grandparents. That's what she said, like, you know, visiting us on our special week or day or whatever. But it was really amazing. So thank you for listening to that story, everybody, for a girl for saying wow and humoring me. You're very sweet. And Rosalind, thank you guys. Thank you. I just wanted to share. It's just like, it really was like, who was, you know, like these random pit bulls who I'm always afraid of led us walked 4 miles with us for over 2 hours and just led us home and there. Just, I thought it was amazing. So thank you guys for humoring me on my story. So today, if you guys, right before we get into the topic as well, Alex Jones is being trialed on court. Thanks, Robert. Thanks for always stopping by too. I always love you. You've got great insight. But Alex Jones is being tested, you know, is in court for his comments on, you know, Sandy Shook. And I don't love AJ at all. I think he's entertaining, and I don't really like hate people in the conspiracy world. Some people like are very angry with people that they don't agree with. And I don't, you know, whatever, dude. But the one article I saw, he in 2018 from these text messages that got his attorney sent his text messages to the other attorney, quote unquote, accidentally. But in the text, InfoWars was making $800,000 a day in 2018. And so if he made that for a whole year, that's $300 million a year. Insane amount of money. That is so many boner pills. I have no idea how many that is. I don't know if that, like, maybe that was just a good day or something. But I regardless, the point of why I'm telling this is I saw like a comment from Adam Green, No More News, who I don't agree with anything he says, but he's a hard worker, a big researcher. And he hates AJ. I don't, again, I don't hate any like AJ. I don't think he's honest. I wouldn't, everything he says you take with a grain of salt. He's most likely, if not 99%, like a disinfo agent. But the point I'm making is cheering on his demise, dude. This is the future for all of us. Like if he's able to be sued for millions and he has the best attorneys, what about me? Or what about you posting on Twitter? They're going to come. This is going to be a way that they're going to be able to silence us, is through lawsuits. Like, I don't have the money and nor the energy to fight the US government or whoever, someone saying I'm spreading libel or whatever about them. So it's a scary thing, dude. It's a scary thing. I know, like, it's kind of funny, like Alex Jones, all these, he's a character, of course he is, but the point of the matter is, dude, if he can get brought down through a lawsuit and he's going to be fine, he's not going to be bankrupt or anything, but you or I, we're not going to be okay. And this is attack. They're using him as the first person, and it's going to open the floodgates. If they can't cancel your account. They can kick you off YouTube. If that doesn't stop you because people keep listening to you and you keep making change, they're coming for us, dude. And this is the way they're going to do it, through lawsuits, because they know we don't make any money as the streamers. A girl says, isn't he CIA? Probably. I'm sure he's controlled in some way, shape, or form. But the point I'm making is, like, when he's going to lose. That's the first sign they're going to come for other people, not me, not yet anyway. I'm too small, but people that have big audiences that can make change, that bring truth. You're going to be next, dude. You're going to get sued by some character saying you're, whatever, all that stuff. But all right, that's all I wanted to say. But I just thought that $800,000 a day. Who's buying these things? That's why it's got to be outside funding or and Dave says, I think he has enough truth to keep people interested. I like that. I agree, Dave. Yeah. I think he says some things that are correct. Just like what his job is, 90% false or 90% truth, 10% lies. He never talks about Zionism and things like that. But anyway, it's scary. It's just kind of like intimidating, and they're going to it's not a good sign for us searching for the truth. They're afraid, dude. They are afraid. The pendulum, I usually am like pretty negative, but I've been feeling more and more positive about the future, because I think the pendulum is going to swing back. So what's going to happen is we're going to get so woke that people are going to lose their identity, lose their purpose. What's already happening, lose faith in everything. And they're going to say, maybe my ancestors were right. I mean, look at our generation, dude. If you went back 15 years and you asked people our age and they're, the millennials and the Zoomer or millennial generation or Gen X at the time, do you think traditional roles was a beneficial thing to society? They would say, no, blah, blah, blah. But I guarantee if you ask today, a larger percentage would say, no, there was some validity to what our ancestors did. And so I think the pendulum is, how do we get there? I don't know. All right. Anyway, The Search for the Manchurian Candidate by John Marks. And like I said, we all know about MK Ultra, but this book, I'm learning so much. It's fascinating, dude. Like all the things the CIA did. And also we're going to get to this as well. But the CIA, from Operation Phoenix book I read and from this one I'm reading, they are not all knowing. They are not all powerful. They are just humans. They're jealous of each other. They want the prize. They want the praise. They want the press. They're totally beatable, is the point I'm making. Like nothing lasts forever. And our generation, we are waking up in masses. And the CIA, they are not all knowing. That's why they're suing people. That's why that is the result. They are so afraid of what we're going to say. People like in this chat and other podcasters or whatever, they're at their wit's end, in my opinion. Okay. So the origins of mind control. So let's set the scene, right? Outside of Switzerland in the hey girl, thank you. Outside of Switzerland, 1940s. I'm trying to do like one of those noir like voices, but anyway, there's this company called Sandoz, and I believe they still work today. They might have become Sanofi. They might still be Sandoz. I'm not quite sure, but it's a drug and chemical empire. And in 1943, Dr. Albert Hoffman, I'm sure you guys have heard about this. He makes a discovery, right? So he's 37. He leads the company's research to develop drugs out of natural products, which I found interesting as well. Hey girl, I'll send you the title if you want to read it. It's really good. And so he starts feeling dizzy and his brain's running 1,000,000 miles a minute, different directions. He said, holy hell, I got to get home. So he gets on his bicycle, colors are flying. He's very confused. He lies down. And he said it was an uninterrupted stream of fantastic images, vividness, accompanied by intense kaleidoscope-like of play of colors. So he's like thinking, what caused this? And that must be terrifying. In 1943, no one knows really about hallucinogens. You don't know what's going on. You just wake up or you're just starting to work and you're like, oh my God, I do not feel right. So I don't know if any of you guys have taken hallucinogens. I have in the past. You guys are so nice, Robert. Thank you, dude. Thank you. But, so he unknowingly ingested LSD, and this was like the first LSD trip and LSD. So he actually created the product 5 years before, and you get it from ergot. It's a fungus. It attacks rye. And it's also funny because ergot has been known for thousands of years, right? In China and Arab countries, it's like a positive idea. Like it's like, oh, a gift from the gods or whatever you want to view that as opposed to Europe, where ergot's attributed to like the St. Anthony's fire, which would hit periodically like the plague, like these mass dancing where people would dance till they died and stuff like that. So it's just funny how different cultures like different things, or, different takes on things. And so Hoffman, he gets back to the lab the next day after he stops tripping, and he's like, I'm making a boatload of this stuff to test it. And he takes 250 micrograms, which is an insane dose, dude. That's like 8 times they're usually on little sheets of paper that you put on your tongue. That's like eight blotter or 8 strips. I forget what they call them now. I know a sheet is 100. I can't remember, dude. I used to know all these things. That's good. I'm forgetting what these drug things are. But so he took a huge dose, and he thought he died when he did it. Wes, what's up? We got to reschedule, my man. Now that I'm back in action. So less than 200 miles from Hoffman in 1943. So what's going on in Europe and Switzerland and Germany? The SS and Gestapo are doing experiments testing with mescaline, which makes you trip as well. I think it's from peyote, right? I don't know. Never done mescaline, so I don't know. Same with peyote, just acid and mushrooms. But the SS had dreams of using mescaline and a drug that could bring people under their control. Now, this is earlier, which I found interesting. The CIA wasn't working on this yet in 1943, or the OSS, but the Gestapo is interested in a truth serum. Wonder how that got brought over here then with our CIA, right? So the dreams of the SS were the total opposite of what Hoffman's goal was. Hoffman was just researching to help people. SS is So at Dachau, the Nazis did many of these extreme experiments with drugs, what the CIA picked up, totally, I'm sure, coincidentally. And they were doing a lot of things like how long could someone survive in ice water, how killing people in pressure chambers, all these horrible things. And Scott, definitely, dude, hit me up on Twitter if you got an account there, or Instagram, where I don't have Facebook though. They would use stopwatches, crushing inmates in high altitude pressure chambers. Prisoners would be shot to test out new coagulants, and all this. You guys all know that the German tech experiments, we took them, and the Japanese also did horrible experiments on unwilling people. But no one ever talks about that one. I wonder why. And so the mescaline at Dachau was administered secretly by spiking prisoners' drinks. Now, where do we hear about that again? Well, we'll find out soon. And they learned that the drug caused some people to reveal their most intimate secrets. And the Nazis, they didn't love mescaline. They trusted the tested method. They liked mescaline. They liked playing around with it. But what they liked best was just the good old classic torture. That was their move. That was what they thought was the best yet, but they're still searching. So at the same time, the OSS is now also, they're hearing about the Nazi experiments. They say, we got to get on this train, dude. So they're setting up their own truth drug committee. They rejected mescaline, barbiturates, scopolamine, but then one plant caught their eye. And now, can you guys guess what plant did the OSS in 1943 think might be their truth serum possibility? And I found this interesting. It was pot. It was cannabis. And they said that cannabis showed the most promise, and started testing the project in their, the top secret clearance, the same classification for the atomic bomb, the same top secret levels. 731 unit. That was the Japanese, was very dark. Oh, Carl knows all about hallucinogens, but rye. Yes. Ergot and rye. But so I found that interesting that marijuana was their first promising drug. What drug is pushed? I mean, psychedelics now are pushed a lot, but it's funny that they thought you could control somebody the best with pot. What is promoted endlessly to younger children? Pot was more easily for me to access even though it was illegal in Pennsylvania in high school, than alcohol was. I could get pot super easily. I sold pot, but if you asked me to get you a fifth alcohol, now that would have taken me a week. But if you wanted an ounce of marijuana, that could be done in 20 minutes. So I just found that interesting as well. So they had such high secrecy that they would test this secretly. We talking about the devil's lettuce, gentlemen, skeptic. We are talking about the devil's lettuce. The OSS thought it was the best way to get the truth out of people. So the Manhattan Project was top secret. This truth serum was also top secret. And the Manhattan Project, they provided the first test subject. So they would administer this liquid weed because, again, they want to do this unknowingly, because if you know you're about to get a drug, that's not how it's going to work in the field, right? Like, the way you're going to use is you're going to get a POW, you're going to dose his drink, and then he's going to start telling you everything unknowingly. Otherwise, he would be able to defend himself. Carl says cannabis was $15 an ounce when he was a kid. Oh my God, Carl. It was, I think, 180 to like 200. But again, I was right before the cusp. It was like, I think, legal or, medicinalized in California. So this was 2009, so it wasn't totally legal, but $200 an hour. I found that. Wes, elaborate while I'm talking, please. And so, so Manhattan Project, they provided the first test subjects, and it didn't do too well. The subjects would vomit immediately because it tasted horrible. So they said, okay, this doesn't work. We can't squirt this liquid in their drink because it's disgusting. What if we put them in a room with hot coals? I mean, this is honestly like stoner logic. Let's put them in a room, small room, not ventilated, with hot coals, and dump tons of weed on the coals and just hotbox the room. Will that work? And I found that hilarious. Like, that's literally like what a stoner would do. They'd be like, dude, how can we get so high without letting anybody know? Let's just put it on the fire and burn the whole room. So I just found that interesting. But they said, okay, that didn't work out too well either. Let's stick with the regular joint method, and we're going to do that. So when they say that, the first joint test, it was in 1943. They did to this notorious New York gangster, Auguste Del Gracio, and it was administered by this guy, George White. And George White, oh God, let's get into George. George was an Army captain who came to the OSS from the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. White invites August the gangster, the mobster, up to his apartment for a smoke and a chill sesh. Not pot, cigarettes. And the military had been working with the mob, as we've gone over endlessly in this podcast, for a long time. So this is nothing new. And they were working with the mob in World War II to keep Axis agents out of the New York Harbor waterfront. And because also there was a plan to invade Sicily, if you guys didn't know, during World War II, because the mafia was selling our drugs, I guess, post World War II. They were selling our heroin to fund the CIA. And so the Sicily was where all the gangsters came from, and Italy was changing, blah, blah, blah. So the U.S. told Lucky Luciano that we were going to invade Sicily, and that was the plan. It was Luciano involved, somebody else. It's in my Gladio episode, but isn't that crazy? Rosalind says, I guess they didn't know about edibles. Rosalind, I guess not yet. That's a good point, though. That would have been a better idea. And the process was using the Manson cult to distribute specific brand of LSD around Hollywood and the hippie movement with a specific brand called Orange Sunshine. Interesting, Wes. See, always got nice little tips to add, buddy. So he gets plied with these cigarette joints. So what they would do is, it was, everyone smokes cigarettes. So they would open a sealed pack, whatever tools they had. They would inject it with a hypodermic needle, the marijuana liquid, into the cigarette. They dry them out, and then they'd reseal the pack so they wouldn't know. They were smoking liquid pot. So they start getting plied with alcohol, plied with joints, and he's just revealing everything about the drug trade and the mob, revealing information that was so secret. 34 years later, once the internet came around and all those things, let's see, 43, 34, so 1980. So but FO, Freedom of Information Act is relevant then. They deleted it from the records, the OSS records, 34 years later, because so many secrets of the drug trade were being given by this guy that now the United States had access to. And the reason why they delete it, it's pretty odd, probably because these secrets were that they were being allowed to sell drugs through the CIA. But they removed all, so now you can't read this, the stuff they learned in this meet and greet drug beer meeting with George White. And the scientists knew that pot wasn't going to get a person to confess their deepest secrets, but it was working a little bit, and it's free money, baby. Tax dollars funding it. Let's keep it going. Let's keep having fun and smoking weed. And so the next stage, White takes tons of pot, tons, to these suspected communist camps outside Atlanta and Memphis and New Orleans. So they take, like I said, take the pack of smokes. They do that. And so what they do is they go to these communist camps. They pick a few of them up, and they put them in a room, and they'd give them their sealed cigarettes. They put it on the table to let them smoke the cigarettes. And they'd also have a folder with their name on it, the person they picked up, with made up stuff in the folder to make it look like they were watching you for a long time, to intimidate you, to scare you. So they'd say, here, smoke some cigarettes, buddy, calm down. And they would have a glass of ice water on the table. So the guy would be smoking cigs. They'd be asking questions. And once they went for that glass of ice water, because you get dry mouth when you smoke weed, they knew that they were high, and that was the time for the real interrogation to begin. I just found that funny. So George and his colleague, George White, this guy that's running these tests, these interrogations with pot, this is the kind of guy that George White was. And I'm sure many OSS agents and CIA agents. So they really loved their travels. George loved traveling with his liquid pot. And like any high-ranking, normal, sane government employee, George, he, working on the projects as top secret as the Manhattan Project, you have your best of the best. You're totally reliable, consistent, hardworking officers on these top secret cases. George, to blow off steam, every hotel he'd stay at, he would take his silencer and his .22 and shoot his initials into the hotel room wall. Like I said, these are the people that are in the CIA. Totally people you want to work with. You can count on them. They are responsible, dependable, and they like to blow off steam by blowing away their initials with a handgun in hotels that they're staying at as they test tons of marijuana on people, right? Totally normal stuff, totally rational stuff for, that's the type of person that you would want to work for the CIA. And that's the kind of people that work for the CIA, literal psychopaths. Regardless, Hoffman's work, the guy who rode his bike on LSD, his work touched on these ancient fantasies of the mind, accessible by ancient legends that with witches, wizards, and spells. And this is why MK Ultra and the CIA went so esoteric and into the occult, because they're trying everything. Nothing is out of the books. The dream is after World War II, is to creating the Manchurian candidate. That's the CIA's goal, one of them, and an assassin basically whose mind was controlled by another force. And from Dachu came the cruelty that man was capable of heaping upon his fellow in the name of science. What I found interesting was Carl says they weaponize anthropology. Bingo, dude. I started reading a book about that too. I think it's called Weaponizing Anthropology. But yeah, this is when this starts, this weaponizing science in using the faking it as science, we want to study the culture here, or whatever you want to say, but it's not about the culture, right? It's to gain insight of how they can use that to control people. And so just like how the Nazis, they picked on a certain group to test all of these things on, well, the CIA did the exact same thing. They just picked mental patients, prostitutes, drug addicts, prisoners, minorities. Oh, here, gentleman skeptic. This is interesting. He said, I work with a guy that used to have a Q clearance. And that's like at the top for anybody that didn't know. I didn't know that. That's where they got QAnon, I think, is because Q is like the top at the highest security clearance. He said he used to work with a guy that had that, and basically everyone he worked with was either a stoner or an alcoholic. Interesting. And again, I think there's a quote that I'll say in the show at some point, but it was like the CIA, the people that went for the CIA were criminally minded, but too scared to actually do crime. And so they went to the CIA because they did legal crime. So we picked in the CIA, not we, they picked mental patients, prostitutes, drug addicts, prisoners, minorities. That's who they're going to run these tests on. And so Nuremberg, as we've heard, everybody know this is so big in the boomer group. And I agree with it too. I'm just saying, like during Schmovid, this is what everyone brought up, the Nuremberg Code. But we heard about, how you must obtain after the Nuremberg Code, after these tests the Nazis ran, it was you must obtain full voluntary consent from all subjects. Experiments should yield fruitful results for the good of society, should not conduct tests where death or serious injury might occur, blah, blah, blah. You know the code. Funny how people have changed so much since 1946 that, now, no, it doesn't, you need to do it involuntary. We will force you. We will fire you. We will not let you leave your house if you don't do this, this experimental project. So I just found that interesting how in 1946 we said, oh, the Nazis are so evil. Then the CIA was secretly doing the exact same thing under the guise of patriotism, just like the Nazis did. And what did they now do it on an even larger scale now. Pressy, what's up, dude? What's going on? So after the war, as you guys all know, we switched to allies to end it with enemies to allies. And but one thing stayed the same. The CIA's interest in controlling the human mind and how this experiment had to remain top secret. So 1946, so we know what time we're all at. So the CIA, they get out these old OSS documents, enlist outside scientists. Officials went to the most prestigious scientists for the good of the country. The CIA also reached back to the hotel shooter, George White, to say, hey, buddy, we're getting the gang back together. You want to join us? Come on. We're going back. Yes, you can. Okay, George, we'll let you shoot your whole name into the hotels you stay at. We'll let you do not. You'll give you an extra clip so you can fire, the full George W, or maybe you'll put G White, whatever you want, George. We got you. We know how responsible you are and how much we can count on you. The OSS stole the Nazi playbook. Bingo, dude. Bingo. So the U.S. was very newish to the spy world at this time. Hey, thanks, Robert. Take care. God bless, buddy. So the CIA, the U.S. was new to the spy world and new compared relative. Unlike Great Britain or Britain at the time was for the last 100, 300, 400, 500 years had used covert operations to hold their empire together. And I found that I've heard that before. I think from like Jay Dyer, he talks about that, how the British built the CIA essentially, which they did, MI6. And I've even heard theories that MI6 and the British still control like the Americans. And I don't find that too hard to believe. I could see that. We're just like proxy. We're not really, I don't know what you guys think. I'd be interested to think, but I could see some validity that the British bankers, Rothschild, their military intelligence, they still secretly run America. I could see that. I could totally see that. So the U.S. had no tradition of using subversion as a governmental policy because we had a revolution against governmental policy. But other European countries had been involved in spycraft for as long as Britain. Nowhere near as good. Nowhere near as good. Like, for example, the clandestine British lobbying in the U.S. brought us into 2 world wars. Not only that, led directly to FDR creating the OSS in 1942. That's how we got it, because the British were lobbying to FDR. Like, you know what you really need to do, buddy? You need to set up some spies. You need to get some spies. So this was the first agency to set up in the U.S. to wage secret Unlimited war. Oh, British intelligence established Israel's home. Totally agree with that, Wes. Absolutely. Balfour Declaration, anybody listening, British intelligence was totally behind funding or getting Rothschild his goal or his dream, which we don't want to get into today. But so MI6 is guiding the OSS. They hire Wild Bill Donovan to put him in charge, and they're like mentoring him what to do, how you recruit people, which people you pick. So SS was said to stand for Oh So Social. And as I think it's like a little joke. I don't get the joke, but I guess it's a joke. And as a graduate of an Ivy League school, Wild Bill Donovan, he wanted to keep the mold. This is why the CIA is in the beginning is filled with Ivy League kids, because Wild Bill Donovan was an Ivy League graduate. He hired all of his OSS people, Ivy League graduate people, millionaires cut from the same cloth. So you can see why this pattern continued with the CIA, because they all thought the same, right? They all went to the same schools. And one of his first recruits is this guy, Dick Helms, Richard Helms. How'd they get that nickname, Dick, from Richard? But he was a newspaper executive, of course, who did an interview with Hitler in 1936. So already in 1942, we are already seeing the merging of press and spy work. Damn right, Dave. Big club, we ain't in it. So Helms, the first recruit, he went to the swanky Swiss prep school where the Shah of Iran also attended. And Dave said that comment before I said that, the big club thing. You see, the first recruit of the OSS went to the same prep school as the Shah of Iran. It's always a group. It's a big club, and we're in it. No one deserves to have a cool nickname like Wild Bill. Gentlemen, yes. If I could get any cool nickname, Wild, or maybe like, trying to think of other cool nicknames. Oh, like, did you guys ever see the Seinfeld episode where George, he wants to get the nickname T-Bone? So he keeps ordering he orders a T-bone steak at lunch, and then somebody else gets the name T-Bone. So George freaks out, but he's eating a banana. So they call him like Monkey or something like that. Great. So that's a horrible nickname, but T-Bone's not bad too. So Helms, he would become one of the most important sponsors of the mind control research in the CIA. And Donovan felt that World War II was a battle of science and organization, not, military. Crazy Jack, maybe, girl, maybe. We're going to brainstorm, we're going to workshop this and get this where we want it to be. So the Roosevelt administration set up an intertwining network of research programs to deal with everything from splitting the atom to preventing mental breakdowns in combat. So again, World War II is really the first war we see this total merge of science. Cracking Jack. That's Jack or crack. I like it, girl. Jack Allen. Man, you guys are boom, boom, boom. But so the World War II is the first we see this mesh of research and science being weaponized, like Carl said earlier, weaponizing anthropology. They're weaponizing science, every aspect of science. So they hire also this guy who called himself a saucepan chemist. That's just funny. His name's Lovell, who we're going to talk about a lot, but who said once at war, to reason is treason. Or he stole that quote from somebody else, but that was his belief. To reason is to treason. My job is clear, to do all that is in me to help America. That's who's running the OSS. That's who's running the CIA. Somebody who says to reason is to treason. Good. Yes. So that's why they hate us, because these intelligence organizations, in their minds, they're constantly at war with right-wing extremism, with nationalism. So to reason is to treason. We are questioning, we're reasoning. That's why they're coming after us and want to sue us into oblivion. You guys are funny. And Donovan, he wanted Lovell to invent he said, go wild, dude. Any trick, any device, any underhanded move to use against the Germans and the Japanese. And Lovell was big into stimulating the bad boy, quote unquote, beneath the surface of every American scientist. These dorks, these total dweebs with 4 eyes and broken glasses and pocket protectors. Lovell was getting into their brain to be like, yo, you're a leather jacket wearing Fonzie, dude. You're kicking the jukebox to get songs. No, they don't have vending machines, but they're the guy kicking the vending machine, getting a free bag of chips. And that's what the OSS was trying to bring out of these scientists. So he would say stuff like, throw all your normal law-abiding concepts out the window. Here's a chance to raise merry hell. So I'm just saying these quotes because do you think their belief stopped? Do you think it changed? No, it's only gotten more intense, right? And now their enemy isn't Russia, it isn't China. Maybe they monitor them. Their enemy is us. And these are their quotes that they believe by. Yes, Pressy, absolutely. And Dave, yes. So one invention that this Lovell sponsored was explosive devices hidden in regular substances. Now, this is hilarious, dude. This is hilarious. So they created an Aunt Jemima, which at the time, I guess Aunt Jemima was still in the box. So A little racist there, right? But this Aunt Jemima pancake mix was this successful creation. It tasted like pancake mix. You could bake bread out of it. They made cookies of it at a meeting showing that it tasted like regular food, right? But all you had to do was they were able to create this powder that you attach a detonator to it and it could be exploded like a bomb. So Aunt Jemima pancake mix blew up at least one major bridge in China. And that's the only one they wrote down about it. So it worked, buddy. It worked. And they were blowing shit up with Aunt Jemima pancake boxes. I just found that hilarious. So, and they didn't just stop at explosives. This was another amazing invention that's funny. It's funny because we're looking back at it now. It's not funny because, they're done way worse things to us currently. But so the Japanese, if you guys don't know, like at Japan and South Korea and these Asian countries, how you're viewed is very important. Like you don't want to bring shame. You don't want to bring embarrassment when you go out. You don't want to make a fool of your family, yourself. So the one thing that the Japanese were and they learned this, how they learned that Japanese and Asian culture is like this, the CIA sponsored anthropologist, and that's another show in itself. But so the Japanese felt shameful about bowel movements, very shameful. And maybe I'm part Japanese too, because as a middle schooler, I too was embarrassed from taking a poop. I would go out to eat with girls and, you go to the movies, there's like 10 of you. I would feel embarrassed to order food or pee. I was like Kim Jong. We were just talking the interview movie in the chat. I was like Kim Jong-un. I didn't pee or poo. It was crazy. It's crazy. Obviously now that's changed, but so maybe I'm part Japanese. I don't know. Maybe I was raised in another life by a Japanese family. So they did, but regardless, these soldiers in Japan, they were embarrassed to poop and have bowel movements and fart and things like that. But so the CIA, they create this compound that duplicates the odor of diarrhea. And it was loaded into these tubes. They flew them to China. They distributed to the children in Japan occupied cities like China, South Korea. And they would tell the kids, when the Japanese appear in a crowded street, go sneak behind the officer and squirt this liquid on the seat of his pants. And the product's name was who? Me? And because it stunk like diarrhea. And so that's a fun invention by the OSS. I like that. I think that's hilarious. I think that's funny. Okay, I'd like that invention. So I talk about this creation because not all OSS CIA weapons are for injuring and killing, but some are there to lower morale. So I just, again, specified this one to make people think you took a poop in your pants, because morale is something that they don't attack us physically, but they attack us on our morale, on our financial side of things. So the CIA, they've had a long time. They've had the last 80 years practicing this of how do we demoralize a population? How do we demoralize an enemy? And for the Japanese, it was to spray poop juice on their butt, on their pants. For us, it's so many things, right? It's closing your bank account, canceling you, getting you kicked off of social media where you have all your friends, blah, 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 blah. So the science of human behavior was still in its infancy in World War II, but the OS recognized its potential for warfare. Psychology, psychiatry, sociology, anthropology all offered different insights that could use to be exploited. Weaponizing science. We've seen it. It's on steroids today, but it started back then. And Donovan, he even wanted behavioral analysis of Mustache Man, like the things that made him tick. And Donovan, I'm just reading these comments in the chat. Elbow cough, psychological warfare, more effective than the brown note. Gentlemen, I don't know what the brown note is, but it sounds funny. So Donovan wanted to know what made Mustache Man tick. So Donovan, he gives this job to this Walter Langer. He's a psychoanalyst, and he pegged Mustache Man as a neurotic psychopath. And I've seen this stuff before. They write about Mustache Man was like this feminine, psycho, blah, 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 blah. He was weak. He was neurotic. He was a sociopath, blah, blah, blah. And maybe some of this is true. I don't know. But I just find it funny. Yes, Dave. I just don't want to say the name. But I just find it funny that, what's up, Amit, that they do these analysis on it. And I've seen this so many times. Dude, they don't know. This is psychiatry just started like 10 years, it was in its infancy, like I just said. Like you could say all this stuff by watching how he spoke. They do this. I'm going to steal a great Norm Macdonald joke. And he goes like this. He's like, you know, I've been reading a lot of history books, and it's amazing how the good guys beat the bad guys every single time. And that's true. Like our leaders are just as evil, if not more evil. We've killed millions in third world countries. They just like to do this as propaganda. So they put all these things like, oh, he was a woman, blah, 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 blah. What? I don't know the truth. I don't think so. I would be struggled to believe that in this hyper masculine society that he was a like hermaphrodite or whatever, lacked testosterone. I mean, he inspired millions in his country. I struggle believing that, but anyway, so that was this guy Walter Langer's analysis, and so they try. So what they did, because they thought he was a feminine male, they tried to slip female sex hormones into his food among many other poisons. And the OSS developed a chemical biopoisons, including botulinum toxins, capsules smaller than the size of a pin, also products that caused sickness, itching, balding. Damn, I hope they don't hit me with that balding chemical, because I don't want to be bald yet, dude. I do not want to be bald yet. But if CIA wants you bald, you're going to be bald, buddy. You're going to be bald. Also diarrhea, you know, all these poisons. And we've heard about all this stuff, but chemical biowarfare was not new. You know, the World War II did not bring that. In World War I, both sides used poison gas, and it was still being used in the early parts of World War II. The Japanese, they dropped deadly germs on China, causing epidemics, and both Allies and Axis powers built up chemical biological warfare. And they said they did that just to keep themselves safe from the others. You know, we're just creating anthrax. We're creating the most drug resistant bacteria, smallpox things, just to study it, just in case it pops up again, even though it would never occur naturally in nature. But so humans are stupid. So and war is the reason they use to do all these evil things. Well, what if this enemy is going to do this to us? We need to be able to how to create an antidote or whatever. But that's not why, dude. And if it is why, that's a horrible reasoning. You're saying the best defense is a good offense. That logic is scary as shit for us. Like atomic bomb, building up an atomic arsenal, all these things. You're doing that because you say, oh, we just want to defend ourselves. That's just terrifying. I'm just reading Wes's little comment here. Follower of Blavatsky, which is why I think he went to the Tibetan mountains. Interesting, considering today's Dalai Lama gave $1 million speech to Nixium. Very true. Very true. Humans love dropping metal explosions on each other. Hilarious, Pressy. Hilarious. Very true. These evil ones do, at least. So as diversified as Lovell's duties for the OSS were, they were narrow when comparing with the CIA post-war mind control program ran by Dr. Sidney Gottlieb. So the OSS, you can think of them as like the CIA infancy, right? Like CIA is the OSS on steroids, on trenbolone, the strongest steroid. You guys wouldn't know this. What they give cows, like the monsters you see on the magazines, are all tanned up. They're on trend. But anyway, yeah. So that's all. I was just reading another comment. Awesome, Scott. Yeah, send me like whatever. I got an email and stuff like that. It's all on my stuff. You can find it, or send me a comment on this when I post it. So, like Hitler, they were trying to get rid of his mustache, tried by sneaking him poison pills. Gottlieb wanted to make Fidel Castro's beard fall out. I mean, weird stuff when you think about it. Like we're spending millions of dollars on tax dollars for guys to play around with how do we make people's beards fall out? Like, do you really think that's, what? So Fidel Castro's beard falls off. What he's going to say? He's going to say, well, it was a good run. That's it. I'm done. Who's next in line to be dictator? My beard's gone. I can't run the country. What, you crazy? Look at my beard. It's gone. I can't be a leader now. Which is funny because if you guys are watching, I'm trying to live. It says she wants me to try and grow a beard. I still have no chest hair. I can't grow a beard, but this has been like 2 weeks. It's looking horrible. Is there a conspiracy as to why our president? That's so funny, Dave. He says, is there conspiracy is why our presidents went from beards to clean shaved? That's hilarious, Dave. That's like seriously funny. It'd be like a joke. Yeah, so ranging from amnesia by electroshock to dragnet searches through the jungles of Latin America for toxic leaves and barks. And like Mustache Man trying to get rid of his stat. Oh, I just said that. So they provide operations and poisons to poison or assassinate foreign leaders. For example, Congo's Lumumba, we talked about him in episode way back. I can't remember what the episode was about now. It was about Gladio, but Lumumba, he was in the Congo. He's a nationalistic leader. He wants to nationalize the rubber industry because it's enslaving his populace by foreign multinational corporations. And the CIA, they don't like when you do that, buddy. They're banking supporters. That's the reason why they were created. They hate when a third world guy says, I'm going to nationalize the industry to, better the lives of my people. So they kill Lumumba. They hire his rival group to chase him down. They're in a helicopter chasing him. He eventually gets away. Him and his family are there. He crosses this river. There's families in the next boat because they have more defenses on that side. They'd be safe. Well, the paid CIA opposition catches his wife and child. He has to come back across the river. They kill him. They torture him. They kill his family. And that's CIA sponsored. So the CIA, they're just disgusting. Another idea from the Brits to Donovan was institute a psychiatrist testing program to help the OSS sort through recruits. And what was discovered shockingly by the CIA was that the loonies make the best spies. And that's a direct quote from Donovan or one of the CIA members that, quote, loonies make the best spies. Now that, I don't know what it does for you guys. That for me gives me so much confidence in our intelligence community. It's shocking. They weren't able to stop, many of the mass terrorist events, being that loonies make the best spies. You would think they would be very good at stopping terrorist events. Apparently, dude, apparently before that, Castro was a Gillette man. Was he really, gentleman skeptic? Was he clean shaven before? He says, because he ran out of razors when he was a guerrilla fighter in the mountains. I wonder let me know if that's true, dude. That'd be funny if it is. So people who spend their lives making up stories revel in the field of spy work and spycraft, aka psychopaths. Yes, literal psychopaths were the best spies. Other tests included ability to hold liquor. And so I'm already, I could make it on the loony aspect of being in the CIA. I think I'm a little loony. But to test my liquor, I'd be done, dude. I rarely drink these days. My guys know my drug past. Drank on like my wedding and on vacation and stuff. But even when I did drink, I was cheap date. I am not those guys. I'm not Don Draper who could just sip on whiskey in the middle of the afternoon and then go back to work. I would fall asleep immediately. They taught people how to read people by their clothing choices, how to lie skillfully. But the important thing about this test was it was the first systemic effort to evaluate a person's personality and prediction of future behavior. Now, where could that possibly lead? And I'll read it again because I was kind of zoned out while I read that. Evaluate a person's personality and prediction of future behavior. That's what this guy created for the CIA, the OSS, or the CIA, the OSS, and I don't know, it maybe have been the CIA at this point. This leads to the algorithmic programming of like Cambridge Analytica, how they can group us into certain groups. They know how we're going to react, how they can do these false flags, and they can get ahead of the resistance that's going to come out of it. Because, this was in the 40s. They created a test how you evaluate personalities, where they fall under this like large spectrum of, beliefs, personality traits, stuff like that. Well, that led to what we have now, this mass programming ability, because they know they have us all lined up. They know what our response is going to be, blah, blah. Murray, the psychiatrist who made up the test, his personnel would go on to start working at, corporations such as AT&T to create more similar tests, Berkeley, GE. So, that's great. The psychiatrist that's making up things of how to mass program, how to mass propagandize, manipulate the public, they start going to work for these multinational corporations, for universities. Good stuff. So Murray gets replaced when the CIA started with a guy named John Gittner, who was making a better personality test and how to use that info to manipulate the people. And he was actually Gottlieb's protege, this the guy that got a better test to know how to manipulate. Brian, my dog, what's up, homie? What's going on, dude? What's going on? Nice to see you, buddy. Nice to see you. So George Estabrooks, and I've heard that name in the past when related to MK Ultra. Wes says Murray worked at the same era as B.F. Skinner. Huh, I don't know B.F. Skinner, Wes, but I trust you. So tell everybody in the chat who that is, because I don't know who that is. So George Estabrooks, he was big. He's a big guy in the hypnotism world, in the New Age world. But Estabrooks, he was a hypnotist master, and eventually the CIA he reached out to the CIA because he wanted to help America. No. Guys, these scientists, they don't reach out to the CIA because they're patriotic. He reached out because he didn't want any liabilities if he killed anybody with his work. And originally the OSS denies him. So he went back. He's like, fine, I'm just going to write books on hypnotism and warfare. And Estabrooks, I'm pretty sure, and he got his stuff from a Swedish guy, but Estabrooks talks about how he was able to travel in his dreams, or like his meditations, to like different planets, different universes or dimensions. And he met like demons and stuff like that. He's a weird guy. He's a totally weird guy. Definitely a Saturn death cult worshiper. And so Estabrooks, he's writing these books. He writes a novel, Predictive Programming. How about that? How the Allies brainwashed Nazis, or vice versa, how they can bring down a nation from the inside. And he writes this little story. Thanks, Barb. So nice to see you. Skinner box. I don't know what that is. But so George, he writes these just like our movies, like how the Simpsons predict 9/11, with the magazine. Estabrooks writes a book, how brainwashed Manchurian candidates are used to bring a country out from the inside. Just so even then they're doing predictive programming. And I would probably guess it's because they're sick cult that they're in. It has to do with that karmic. If you tell somebody what you're going to do to them, you don't get karmic points against you. More eager scientists than Estabrooks would constantly seek the CIA approval to run experiments on people they never dare to run themselves. Science, baby, never question it. Sure, they wanted to kill you in the 50s. That changed. They don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to run untested drug products on you anymore. They grew from that. The Nuremberg Code, right? They can't do that. Wink, wink, nod, nod, elbow, elbow, cough, cough. So the chapter 2, the Cold War on the Mind. So CIA officials, they started preliminary work on drugs, hypnosis, shortly after the agency creation in 1947. And this didn't really get rocking until the Hungarian government. Now, this is interesting. So the Hungarian government put this guy, Cardinal Midsensi, on trial in 1949. And he has this weird, like, zombie look on his face, glazed eyes. He confesses to these crimes of treason that there's no way he committed. Like, they were such outrageous things he admitted to, and it was televised. And the CIA was like, what is going on? And his poor performance, it reminded the OSS and CIA guys of these Moscow purge trials in 37 and 38, when the quote unquote tough and dedicated party members pled guilty to totally insane crimes, like totally not possible, improbable. And so there's these string of these weird trials where communists had rendered these defendants zombie-like, according to the CIA. And the CIA had to figure out, how do we do this too? How do we get people to confess to things they didn't do like they're doing? That's perfect. We want that. That looks great. We'll never get caught with another crime again. We'll just put brainwash people on the stand like the Soviets are doing. Isn't that so sick? And it is funny, dude. Like, for a while, I didn't really believe like communism. I just believe capitalism, communism, socialism, they're all the same, really. They're ran by the same bankers. And I still kind of do believe that. But this this communism, this Marxism, that was really, the political correctness that started in Soviet Russia in 20 something, after the Bolsheviks took over. The woke movement started in Soviet Russia. And it's just weird how that wokeness, this key part of Marxism and everything like that, it graduated and it made its way to America. So now I'm back in the camp that It is literally a cultural Marxist revolution that they're trying to do worldwide. And that's why this pendulum has swung so far to the left, which I think will backfire on them. But yeah, it's just funny that these people that we were fighting in World War, in the Cold War, we're now using their same exact tactics and trying to learn how they were able to do the evil things that we were supposedly fighting them against. You can see where the confusion gets in here, where it doesn't really make sense. Like, you're fighting what they're doing, but you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it nicer than them. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So in the spring of 1950, several CIA branches, they start considering hypnosis. This guy, Sheffield Edwards, he's a former Army colonel. Decade later, would handle the joint CIA mafia operation. So good guy, likes to lie a lot. He creates a security group to check out agents of CIA defectors and to make sure no enemy were secretly infiltrating the secret CIA programs. So each team would have a psychiatrist, a polygraph expert trained in hypnosis, and a technician. Now, this is what would be deemed Operation Bluebird. And of course, why not? Let's do this too. On Mustache Man's birthday, April 20th, not the same year, obviously, April 20th, 1950, the CIA approves Operation Bluebird and authorizes use of unvouchered funds to pay for its most sensitive areas. And so I found this, I just link Bluebird, MK Ultra, Artichoke as the same thing. They're not the same thing. So that's important. It's like MK Ultra is the result. Bluebird, Artichoke, there are different iterations, not exactly the same goal, dealing with the mind. But so Bluebird was a focus on to hypnotize, to lie detector tests, to make sure no secret double agents were getting into the CIA. And in the beginning, the CIA, it was most likely a well-meaned attempt, Bluebird, for most employees. Scientific experts and spy experts, they're working together, looking over information, using their skills and their strengths of different areas to deduce answers, like the scientists specializing in hypnosis in the brain, working with actual spies on how can we get this process to be as smooth and all that stuff as possible. And eventually they realized the only way to have a good defense against mind control that the Soviets supposedly have is to have the offense as well. And thanks, Wes. Thanks for saying. I kind of just made that up after reading this. So Wes says, yes, MK Ultra is just the encompassing term for the Splinter Project. So thank you. I'm glad you fact checked me and I was right. So thank you. Yeah. Okay. Oh, good offense, best defense. Okay. So this is what happens in the CIA. This line gets blurred, right? What is defense? What is offense? Where do you draw the line? If you're saying we're creating this project to stop brainwashing of our soldiers, well, do you need to create a full brainwashing program spending hundreds of thousands of dollars? Are you defending brainwashing? Or are you trying to create it? Like, you're lying to the CIA is lying to its employees saying, we're only doing this for to save America, blah, blah, blah. And so the regular Joe Schmoes working in the CIA say, yeah, we got to protect our soldiers. But at the top, they know what they're doing. They're doing this to sell it to the private industry, to manipulate mass populations, to sell them goods, to control them. And so if you have such a super powerful weapon and you're trying to create to control the minds, the most powerful weapon humanly possible, you have this weapon, it takes the ultimate morality to withhold using said weapon and using it to increase your power. With great power comes great responsibility. And I'm pretty sure none of those CIA guys in the 1950s read the Spider-Man comics. That's where that quote's from. You can guarantee they did not feel with great power comes great responsibility. Nearly each CIA document stressed goals like controlling an individual to the point where he will do our bidding against his will and even act against fundamental laws of nature like self-preservation. So yeah, this is just defense, guys. American, no, we're not trying to, we're trying to create a way to get you to act against your self-preservation, what's innately inside you. But no, it's for defense. Justin, what's up? He says, RIP for Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben would not be cool with the CIA, everybody. Uncle Ben would not be down to brainwash his own people. He would not be okay with Peter Parker to brainwash Aunt May and Mary Jane to get Mary Jane to date him, right? Uncle Ben would say, no, Peter Parker, don't do that. Just funny. Yeah, exactly, Wes. Exactly. Okay, so 3 months after Bluebird's approved, Wes is just saying this in the gosh darn chat. A team went to Japan to try out the brainwashing techniques on the people in Japan, on defectors, traitors, blah, blah, blah. So they are ordered to conceal the Bluebird project from everybody. There's only 3 of them. So they tried out their drugs, amnesia, and they did some work on North Korean POWs. They said it was successful. And by the end of 1950s, this guy, Morse Allen, would become the director. Oh, maybe he's related to Jack Allen. Probably not. Morse Allen, he becomes the Bluebird director of Operation Bluebird. He spent most of his earlier career rooting out domestic and communistic threats. And from what I read briefly of Morse, he sounded like a guy that did want what was best for the public, what he thought was best. So he was in naval intelligence, and he actually left. He left naval intelligence, this guy, because he thought they were trying to whitewash communism after the war. So see, I think we would like Morse Allen. I don't think he realized what he was doing. So he dedicated to exploring each route the commies might take to brainwash Americans. So he was fully invested in this. So Allen's favorite device was the polygraph. He loved it so much they would even use it on CIA employees. And the polygraph, we've heard, everyone knows what a polygraph is, a lie detector test. It measures psychological changes, physiological changes that show lying, which might be a heartbeat increase, raised in blood pressure, perspiration, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not foolproof by any sense of the stretch of the, the expression. So the CIA guessed 7 out of 8 times polygraph tests work. Not high enough for certainty. And they realized, get this, dude. Oh my, it's like, you guys, I hate you guys so much. So they realized that a trained person, a psychopath, maybe a loony liar could beat the machine. So it came down to the skill of the person running the machine, the questions they asked. But some guys were so good, they didn't even need a polygraph to do a lie detector test. Questions are power, hence why they fear us. But I just found it funny that people that could beat the test were psychopaths, were people that were manipulative liars biologically. AKA the people that are in the CIA are the same people that could beat a polygraph test. But yeah, so I found that interesting, that the polygraph test, it was a good tool, but it was the guy asking the questions that he was. And I've been questioned by police many times in my life. And though I was in a much different place in my life, some were better at asking questions to get me to admit what I did. I should have. I was a drug addict, so I didn't say lawyer, because I was just hated my life. I didn't care, but they would ask questions, and some of them were total freaking idiots, total effing idiots. And then there was a few of them that weren't total idiots. I'd say the majority of them were idiots, though, 90%. But there was probably a 5-10% of the detectives that questioned me that I would say, yeah, they were probably relatively intelligent. Most were people that were good at baseball or football in high school, and then they went to some D3 school to play said sport, and then because they were an idiot, they went into law enforcement. Thanks, Justin. You're so nice. You're so nice, dude. Great guy. So this is good. Okay, I'm getting back. I'm sorry. I haven't seen you guys in so long. I just am chatting. Carl says, I know, I've never been arrested sober. Hilarious, Carl. Not hilarious, but kind of hilarious, right? See, they have us at a serious disadvantage, because that's like me picking up a totally inebriated. This is like me, George White, running a interrogation on a heroin addict. Yeah, I'm not going to know how to beat you, because I'm just going to, you're messed up. You're high. I'm not high. I'm going to be able to manipulate you and get the answers out. So anyway, okay. Anyway, back. So they tried a sleep machine that could cause, they tried to make a distance polygraph. That's what they wanted. Because the issue with the polygraph is it cannot compel truth. It could just let you know a possible lie. So they tried to make a long distance polygraph. They could hit you with like a ray or something. And some progress was made. They stopped giving us any information on that. I bet they have one that's even better than that now, or it's on our phones or our watches that we wear. They're running lie detector tests on us, whenever they want. I'm sure they are, or they just know what our response is going to be. But I thought they tried to create one that they could like shoot like a laser beam. They tried a sleep machine, but they found out that could cause brain damage. And the CIA didn't love causing brain damage. They weren't totally against causing brain damage, I'd say. They were more like ambivalent. They're a little like, they're in the middle. They'd cause it. It's okay. They'll dispose of you. But they're not hoping that they cause brain damage. But Morse Allen, he finds out from a scientist, which his name's now redacted, how you could produce amnesia, which was a goal, by electroshock treatments. So as people come out of amnesia, and I didn't know this is why they did the electroshock stuff in MK Ultra. I had no idea why they were putting these people through these horrible. I thought it was just to torture them and to like rewire their brain. No. So what they found out is if you can knock somebody out with electroshocks or whatever method, you knock them out. When they wake up, then you bring them back with like a jolt or a drug, or you shock, like you, or or like a stimulant, amphetamine you injected as they got knocked out from the shocks. You inject them, they're up, and then you hit them with another depressant. Like they're just doing these. They're called speedballs with heroin and coke, but that kind of drug. They're doing like a speedball treatment on them because so when you're amnesia and you're knocked out and you get woken up artificially, you're in this like daze between like dream world and awake world. So that the image they painted was like these people would be like paralyzed and like, arms drooping, but their eyes would be bugging out of their sockets because they're dosing them with tons of stimulants. Just, pretty gruesome stuff. Dave says the Joker actually explained why you never want to destroy the brain. Please elaborate, Dave. I'll read it as I keep talking. Oh yeah. So and then in lower, as the person would come out of the amnesia, that's when the CIA would question them in that stupor. And in lower levels, it wouldn't just knock someone out. It would all like at a lower level shock, it wouldn't knock you out. It was worked as well as a torture mechanism. It would cause excruciating pain. Another thing the CIA says, if it happens, it happens. We're not too upset about it. And the psychiatrist did warn Allen that frequent usage of shock therapy could turn someone into a vegetable. Allen says, we're not too concerned. Come on, we'll just say it's a communist and get rid of him. No one's going to even know he's gone. And the CIA, the joke I wrote was after he told them we could turn into a vegetable. The CIA said, I want all those machines right now. But, it's hard to make jokes when I write these notes. Anyway, let's continue. So shortly after the redacted psychiatrist made the machine, got to $100,000 to research his theory and hit with hypnosis and machine and see the results. And then another redacted psychiatrist got another 100,000 2 years later to study if maybe lobotomies were the route to go to tell people to have your Manchurian candidate. So the Bluebird security office used outside consultants to study vibrations, which is huge today. We talk about this all the time. Vibrations like cymatics, they can be HARP, the weather manipulation device in Alaska. It puts out vibrations and frequencies. The CIA Bluebird operation was studying all this stuff in, not the 1950, 1949, et cetera, et cetera. So they learned a lot. We're not going to know what they learned. We don't know what they're doing today, but they've definitely been able, because of all this work back then, they were able to study vibrations and frequencies and the effects that has on the human body and the human mind. They studied diet variations, caffeine fatigue, radiation, heat and cold, changing light, like blue light, concussions. And so Bluebird operation began when Stalin was in office. Hitler's memory was still fresh. Now the Soviets continue to grow in strength. CIA officials have used these excuses, the Soviets' growth and stuff, to justify the crimes they committed then and afterward for all these innocent people. And also it helped that after World War II, America achieved the global superpower, power that bureaucrats dream of having, that military officials dream of having. And they dispense guns to to bribe countries. They dispense money, heroin, drugs, favors, aid to scores of nations willing to play ball, or scores of leaders of nations willing to play ball. And we know this. Any third world country, again, that we just said that maybe wanted to nationalize, they get rid of that leader. Then there was a leader that said, "Oh, I won't. I'll let you keep raping and pillaging our people. Just send me some cash." And that's what they did. That's what they did. Ooh, Gentleman Skeptic says, interrogate people that just come out of anesthesia because people are more susceptible to suggestion when they're impaired. And I bet you're freaking right, Skeptic, because when I got my wisdom teeth out, I was saying shit that I did not want to say to my mom. And I'll tell you what, I see why the CIA did it. Because, yeah, I don't remember saying it, but I was just saying, I was like 18, and I think I just did my freshman year in college, and I came out of the wisdom teeth, and I kept saying, I feel like I'm hammered. I feel like I'm hammered. I'm not supposed to be drinking, but anyway. Okay. All right. So many CIA workers, the National Security Act that was lobbied by Dulles and Donovan to get the CIA started was created by a group to fight communism and anything that might lead to communism worldwide. Many CIA workers still defend what they did. One guy who went to work for the Yankees at Madison Square Garden tried to justify his actions by saying how the world was in peril. And that's why we did what we did. The world was in peril. The Soviets lined the East German border waiting to strike. Hence why the mind control program was started. The CIA thought they were light years behind the Soviets. We said, we saw all these interviews or people confessing to crimes. The CIA says that could happen to us. Also saying, I hope we can get that to happen to our guys too, so we can do that to people. But yeah, so eventually, like early in the 1950s, though, like 51 or 52, they realized that the Soviets had zero stuff on brainwashing. They did not have a magic truth serum. They did not have anything like that at all. They had none of this. We weren't light years behind. We were light years ahead. And it was already too late. The Bluebird already started. The boulder's already rolling down the hill. It had already begun its descent. The show must go on, baby. The show must go on. Wait, I wanted to read what Dave said about the Dark Knight and the Joker comment. Joker explains in the Dark Knight, Joker explains why you never start with the head. I'd have to watch the whole clip, but there is a conspiracy as to why he is. Huh. Interesting. Interesting, Dave. We're going to have to find that clip of that scene. Wait, Wes, there's actually 2 hidden gem movies about MK Ultra. Didn't know where Shutter Island and Ward are good watches. Shutter Island. Oh, dude. Yes. That's an MK Ultra symbolism there. Wow. That's an awesome point, dude. If you guys haven't seen Shutter Island, it's good. Don't let anyone spoil. No spoilers in the chat for anybody that didn't see it. So interagency squabbling kept happening, especially in the mind control group. Like each group wanted to run it. So it kept switching back and forth with like the switch Bluebird would turn into Artichoke. And so what I found interesting was the 2 groups that were fighting over the control of these operations was the Office of Security versus Scientific Intelligence. And Office of Security was military men. They wanted to weed out every commie, every homosexual from the military, the government, the CIA. So the Office of Security, that was their view, versus the Scientific Intelligence. These guys, they thought the Office of Security were just stupid brutes, not focusing on the real goal, which was how do we use science to manipulate the mind and the public. So I imagine another example. This is another example of how like the good guys get bumped. And I'm not saying you should kick out every homosexual. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that this Office of Security was military men that viewed communism as the true enemy, and they wanted to weed it out. We knew we had snakes in the military, in the CIA, in military industrial complex, and this Office of Security, the CIA, they wanted to weed them out. They said they are infiltrating us. They are bringing us down. Whereas the science side, the scientific intelligence group, they didn't care about that. They cared about how do we mind control and brainwash the public. Skeptic said a hilarious thing. So during the Cold War, the CIA dropped large and extra large condoms labeled small and medium into places like East Germany just to mess with the Soviets. See, sometimes the CIA sounds like a fraternity, right? It sounds like fun, dude. It's like all of us in a room like, how do we demoralize these people? I got an idea. Let's spray poop sauce on their pants that they don't know they have. And then let's bring attractive women down the street in bikinis and get them to talk to them and then say, "Oh my God, you smell that? That would be hilarious." That was just off the cuff. What do you guys think about that as an idea? Huh? What do you think about that idea? So this interagency squabbling, we talked about that in Operation Phoenix. And Dave says that's because they are a fraternity. You're right, Dave. You are. But so I talked about this in the last few episodes with the Phoenix program. It's all the CIA. It's a mess, dude. We think of them as all knowing, all powerful, omnipotent, something, but they're not, guys, and they can be beaten. That's why I've had a rejuvenated feel of positivity. This pendulum is going to come back, baby, and we are going to lead it. We will show that why our beliefs are correct, because they are correct, dude. We are right. Tradition, all that is important. That's what kept humans alive for so long. But anyway, okay. So yeah, so this interagency squabbling has been going on forever, which makes sense. But so I just say this because this is important to know that the CIA, though unlimited resources, though very powerful, they are just humans. They are stupid humans like us. They are guessing. They've definitely smoothed out their tactics and their abilities to control us, but they are not all powerful, everyone. That's why they're so afraid of us. In 1951, the CIA approved of working in tandem with the Navy, the Air Force, the Army to avoid duplication of effort. They invited the FBI. Hoover stayed away. He was actually at the time dressing up in his mother's dress, getting railed by some other homosexual in the FBI. But that's why he didn't want to join the Truth Committee, because he knew that they would find out about his cross-dressing antics. But all these groups are all working on truth drugs as well. And this cooperation between the military and the CIA was very brief because, again, people have personalities. Everyone wants to be famous. Everyone wants to be rich. So also at the same time, it was revealed to the CIA that Soviets actually had no new interrogation techniques, no magic drug, nothing special. I don't know why I wrote down the notes twice. So the CIA, for Artichoke and Bluebird, they struggled to find qualified doctors to help them on the project due to ethical issues and low salaries. So they released a memo to the CIA, like, how do we convince? Who do we convince? How do we convince? How do we get these scientists to work with us? And so the CIA's internal memo says, well, you guys got to look for people that might have some ethical leeway. And this was the quote. He would be a cooperative in any phase of our program, regardless of how revolutionary it might be. AKA, this doctor will do whatever the F we say. Now, they also had issue with finding subjects. It wasn't like Nazi Germany where they could just take anybody that was Jewish. So they also had trouble finding people that would be willing to do criminal things to people. So what they did is they hit with all these doctors, all these scientists, all these people with this good patriotic propaganda, which, I could really go for some patriotic propaganda right about now. None of the propaganda is patriotic anymore, and I would like to file a formal complaint with the CIA about that. I like World War II and World War I go to war posters more than I like the CIA's current recruitment video that has like a transgender person with like 80 tattoos. Okay, let's bring it back, CIA. Let's go back. I'll take the patriotic propaganda. I will. I'm down with that, dude. You do that. I'd like that. I'm totally down with it. Not the shit that you're doing. Please stop this lame propaganda. And so the CIA also ran think of this propaganda was those to get the scientists to be like, oh, a traitor to our country meant we can do anything to them. This is to protect America. You guys are saving American lives. You're hurting a communist. Who cares? Think like better dead than red sort of things. Now, the CIA also ran into the issue that many of their early studies were not what they called, quote unquote, terminal experiments. It was like a college student and such people that had no real info to share or fear. And they knew that the subjects, they would get like kids from college campuses to try the marijuana stuff, blah, blah, blah. And they were getting compensated for this. So it didn't help the CIA create a truth drug because they didn't have, these people they were using their tricks on. They had nothing really, they knew what they were doing. Does that make sense? It's different if I the North Koreans kidnap me, it's going to be way different than if I sign up at college on like, are you willing to be interrogated by the American government as a study? Okay. Like I know I'm not going to get killed, right? Does that make sense? And what they needed, they were really uninformed, like totally not knowing people got dosed randomly to see if it worked. How did the drugs affect unwitting subjects? And most of that work was done in overseas in secret. And this is our last chapter. We got about 3-4 more pages. So perfect. Oh man, we're doing great tonight. So this is a funny chapter. It's called, let me just read any funny comments here. I saw Adam West and Batman. Just look up Bruce Wayne, Skull and Bones. So I'll have to check that out. West comic series, episode 33. All right. I'm caught up. What's up, Flippy Hambone, buddy? I haven't seen you. Nice. Thanks for stopping by, my man. So the professor and the A treatment. Oh, this is a fun chapter. So in 1952, 3 guys working for the CIA, they head to Germany, top secret clearance again. They even couldn't acknowledge each other at the military airport that they knew each other until one of them dropped some secret hand symbol on the plane that said, okay, we can chat now. And ironically, this is called Operation Chatter. So the goal of Operation Chatter, and just like Wes clarified in the chat earlier, MK Ultra was the top guy. You had, you can't really draw a tree off of it because some of these operations were before MK Ultra, but we're just to help you visualize, just put MK Ultra at the top. You got lines with Bluebird, Artichoke, Chatter, Naomi, all these projects. And they're all dealing with the mind, but they're not all the same thing. So these 3 guys that are, these spies on the plane, they're going to Germany for Operation Chatter. And the goal was of weakening, if not eliminating, the free will in others. So this is why Operation Chatter started. This is the way they justify. I just find this hilarious. I find it literally effing hilarious. What if somebody, guys, this is why we need to be able to weaken, if not eliminate, free will. Imagine, if you will, a man, a terrorist in 1952. He has he comes to one of our cities. He plants an atomic bomb. We have 12 hours to find out from the person where it was. What would we do? We would be screwed. And this was the situation they used to justify this Operation Chatter. Quick few questions after thinking about it for 30 seconds, maybe. How many people how many people have hidden atomic bombs in their pockets? America, CIA. Who's sneaking a goddamn atomic bomb into American cities in 1952? Yes, like 24, Dave. Like, this justification is such bullshit fear mongering. They doing this to create an offense. They're labeling it as defense, but it's not defense. Nobody in 1952 is having a pocket held atomic bomb, leaving it in the city. Like, come on. And that our government, they just are like, oh yeah, because they're getting bribed to high heavens with that. But I just thought that was freaking hilarious. Like, dude, come on. I don't think did the Soviets even create a nuke yet? I don't even think nukes are real, but did they create a quote unquote nuke in 1952? If not, who are you worried about? But okay. Wendt, he's one of these top guys that works for the Navy, and then the CIA. He's into anti-motion sickness drugs. They hid him in the Chatter project. They sent him $300,000 to study barbiturates, amphetamines, alcohol, and heroin. And I know this is so pointless, but I got to find out inflation calculator. What would it be 1950 to now? I want to know what $300,000 was worth in let's do $300,000, 300, 1, 2, 3. Calculate. $300,000 today is equal to $3.7 million. So remember, we talked about all these other scientists got 100,000. So they were getting $1 million. So this guy that was studying anti-motion sickness drugs, and then now studying drugs on people, they gave him $3.8 million. $3.8 million to torture you. Not a bad deal, right? Not a bad deal. So many of these drugs, they were not able to be purchased from a pharma company because, our pharma companies in the 1950s, they haven't yet been too interested in just making pure profit. They're profit driven, but not purely profit driven. And so luckily, the Federal Bureau of Narcotics was more than willing to help out the CIA to give them some samples of heroin, pot, all those things. So Wendt, the 3.8 million, he bought 30 grams of pure heroin. That's a lot of heroin. Just for anybody to get, so you guys know, 0.1 gram of a gram, 0.1. So you got 10 of those in a gram, maybe 100 of those. It might be 0.01 actually, because it's pure heroin. So yeah, probably 0.01 would be a normal dose. That would get you very messed up. So he has like 30,000 doses, essentially. 11 pounds of marijuana, among many other drugs sent up to Mr. Professor Wendt in Rochester, New York. And like all serious drug studiers, he got high on his own supply, buddy. He got high on his own supply. That's rule like number 2 in the 10 crack commandments. That's science, baby, though. Don't question the science. All right. Come on. If he's going to give heroin, he gets to test it. Come on. And so he would also test his drugs on his students and assistants that worked for him at the professor. What was Professor Wendt's favorite drug to study? Oh, he said it was heroin. He was so interested in heroin for science, guys, just for science. He was doing it twice a week injections, and writing down his reactions through driving, shopping, recreation, sex, family relations, activity. This is science, though, guys. I know what you're thinking. All right. No, he's not enjoying heroin and / a drug addict. No. This is science. I can't believe you guys don't know how science works. You're stupid. Jeez, you're so stupid. So he never had any trouble getting any student volunteers. All he would do is post a sign-up sheet on his door on the school library, and he would watch through a two-way mirror. He'd use the drugs to some people, placebos to others, and the kids would never know what they were taking. That's funny, Flippy. And so they again ran into the issues of these effects on unknowing subjects. They said, forget it. This isn't getting what we want. We need truly blind subjects that don't know they're about to be drugged, that don't know what they're getting. And so they said, let's go for it. Let's go balls deep, baby. Safety of the country. Commies are coming. Let's get it. So Wendt in the summer of 1952, he's playing around with the drugs, trying to help them with Operation Chatter to be able to control free will. And he yells, Eureka! I got the truth drug. He calls up the CIA. He says, guys, I got it. Tell me when and where. They say, what's in it? He says, you're not getting my secret recipe, buddy. I know you just gave me 3.8 mil. I don't care. I'm not telling you jack shit. Let's do a test. I'm ready. I got the truth serum ready in my back pocket. So they said the CIA is fine. We will do it. Let's go to Germany. We're going to create a new Operation Castigate. Lame, stupid name. And so they went to an old IG Farben building, which is another point I need to bring up. IG Farben was the backbone of the Nazi war machine. Why was IG Farben never blown up in the many Allied air raids? Oh, I don't know. It's kind of weird also how Mitsubishi, the backbone of the Japanese war machine, also was never bombed in World War II. If I was a conspiracy theorist, I'd maybe start to think like, that seems a little bit weird. If someone with no strategic military knowledge, I would bomb the places that are making the weapons. But that's just me. Maybe I'm an idiot. If I was truly an enemy of Japan, I probably would have bombed their imperial castle area, maybe, got their emperor. But no. Let's ignore that. No. They just want to bomb civilian homes. Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, that makes total sense. But anyway, so they go to, they are like based out of this IG Farben building. All the bigwigs from the CIA come to see Wendt's demonstration. So they had 5 double agents as the subjects. This is hilarious. I love this story. So some concerns, real like before they do this, like what happens if this truth drug kills someone? The CIA says, have no fear. It'll be no problem to dispose. Nobody's going to miss these guys. So his magic drug of choice, right? And everyone's there. He's got to tell him now, dude. He's He is like Colonel Sanders. Okay. He has made the fried chicken recipe, the truth serum recipe of the ages. 26 spices and sweets. What's it? 26 spices, secret sauces and spices. That's what he had, dude. No one, he had everything. He had them by the balls. So he says, all right, I'll tell you. Don't write it down though. Okay. I'm going to give him a depressant, Stecanol. I'm going to give him a stimulant, Dexedrine. And to top it off, a little bit of THC. And let me tell you, everyone in the room, these huge bigwigs, they all came to Germany to see this test. They thought he had herbs and spices. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. I got the herbs and spices right here, everybody. So he tells them, a depressant, a stimulant, and some pot. Everyone in the room, their mouth drops in angry, in furious because they tried all of these out to wazoo. They thought Wendt had a brand new, a true truth drug. They believed him. I mean, they did give him 3.8 mils, so they trusted his advice. So regardless, said, okay, Wendt, well, you claim you have it. We've already done this, but let's test it. Let's do it. So the drug sucked. Wendt can't get anybody to tell him shit. He's freaking out because all these bigwigs that funded him are in the two-way mirror watching him. The double agents aren't telling him shit. They're just getting high. And so he's embarrassed. He doesn't even want to question the last person in this because they moved to an abandoned farmhouse for the interrogation. And so instead of wasting the last one, the CI said, all right, let's just do a classic sodium pentanol test, which what sodium pentanol does is it would knocks out that's another one of these amnesia creators for this truth. So sodium pentanol, they would inject it with you, you'd fall asleep. Then they'd hit you with a huge dose of Benzedrine, which was a stimulant to revive the subject. So again, what you would get is this comatose person with bugged eyes, and they'd be between this comatose and coked out state. Like the last guy that didn't get the nice pot downer stimulant, the little speedball with some pot. The last guy didn't get that one. Sucks for him, dude. That sucks. At least you could have gone out on your last moments feeling good. But so he gets the sodium pentanol treatment and he thinks he's talking to his wife the entire time. And so they get stuff out of him. And this became Artichoke's main focus. The greater the amnesia they took this from Operation Castigate or whatever, and they brought it back to Artichoke. And so they realized the greater the amnesia that was created, the more things they talk about. But the issue became, now what do we do with these people after we run the interrogation on them? They know what we did to them. They could, if they escape, we keep them alive. We may send them back as double agents. They might tell the Soviets what happened to them. And then our light year, their brainwashing capability, we're going to have to we're going to spend more money on brainwashing. And last though, Wendt, such a science. This is Bill Gates. This Wendt you can think of, guys, is Bill Gates. So Bill Gates, aka Wendt, with his lame ass truth serum that was stupid AF, on his, this is so funny. So he brings his attractive female assistant with him to run these tests in the interrogation. So the CIA, their top secret, they're pissed that he did this already. Like he brought some, hot young college co-ed that's banging her professor as his assistant. So they start getting drunk on the beer that they're giving the people they're interrogating, the beer that they weren't spiking with the drugs. She would be giggling, Wendt would be flirting with her. They would, he wasn't even focusing on the interrogation. And then out of nowhere, Wendt's wife, she says, what is he doing? She shows up in Germany. Maybe she heard the assistant went there, but she unannounced, she shows up to confront Wendt for bringing this young girl with him who he clearly has affections for. And he was so scared of his wife, he stood on top of a building, threatened to jump off of it. That's the CIA. That's science, baby. That's Bill Gates. That's science. That's who's running our world. People that are cheating on their wives and are so terrified of saying, you know what? I'm in love with my college-age student because I'm an effing idiot. Wife, I'm going to jump off a building. Please don't divorce me. So pathetic, dude. And these are the nerds that run our world. These are the nerds that run our world. Beyond pathetic. Ugh. And that's why, again, I say we can win, dude. This guy Wendt, people didn't, if anything, people became more feminine, more bigger babies, whatever. I don't know, bigger weaklings, lower on the masculinity chart. And we're going to listen to them. Are you kidding me? That's why they're afraid of us, because they know that we are the top of the food chain. We're the top of the genetics class. We don't need them, right? But that's why they're so afraid of us. That's why they're trying to do their mass propaganda, because they're weaklings, dude. They're lack confidence. The only power they have is made up because they can read our text messages. Well, you know what? Both middle fingers up to you, buddies in the CIA. Flippy Ambone says masculinity is hard to control. A million percent. And even more so because the people that are running these ops on us, they're not masculine. Their balls are in a jar somewhere by their wife, maybe the government. And if we met them on the street, they would never, you'd say, you would like give him an atomic wedgie and take his lunch money. So Morse Allen and his artichoke team, after this horrible experience of their $3.8 million scientist threatening to jump off a building, getting drunk with his assistant, totally effing up the operation, they return to this thanks. They say, okay, well, that sucked, but we can still control human minds. So Wendt's funding immediately pulled. Poor guy, kind of. I mean, he almost jumped off a building. His assistant probably left him after this because now he doesn't have money out to wazoo. So they canceled his funding. They said, give us a refund of all unspent money and never talk to us again, you effing idiot. So Operation Chatter never recovered, and it ended in after Wendt's experiment in 1953. But the following years of the mind control war continued. Navy spending tons on behavioral research, Army spending money on how to incapacitate an entire army with drugs. An anonymous psychiatrist who worked for the CIA told a little bit about his experience. This was sickening, right? 150 trips overseas to run secret studies from 52 to 66. And he thought it was an ideal as a psychiatrist because you always had new patients, never the same boring ones. You never got attracted to them. His job was also to find out if agents were under another country's control and how could he get them back to switch to the CIA. And his quote was, "You can't count on the honesty of your agent to do exactly what you want or report accurately unless you own him, body and soul." And again, that is the CIA and the science. That's science, that when it works with the CIA. You cannot count on them unless you own them, body and soul. And that's what the CIA did. They tried to create people closest to that model, rule followers, people that will go with the group, people to reason is to treason, that mentality. That's why they are terrified of us independent thinkers, because the people that work as a scientist these days in the CIA as a spy, they are group thinkers. I mean, think of that guy. He's always on Joe Rogan. He's the short, guy. What's his name? He's such a chotch. Oh my God. Rogan's CIA guest. Come on, you guys have to know. He's like a short manlet. I forget his name. Maybe Mike Baker. I don't think Mike Baker. No, not Mike Baker. The other one. So maybe he's like Navy SEAL, but such a vagina, dude. Oh my. And I saw him on the Boys Cast with Ryan Long. It's a funny podcast. And they're trying to make jokes with him. And he's talking about how good his torture was compared to the Afghanistan, how they're nailing people's hands and raping them and things like that. Not Mike Baker, Flippy and gentlemen. It's the other guy. He's shorter, but he's such a wuss, dude. And that's who's in these groups. Not soldiers. I'm talking these people that go on shows that people like Black Rifle Coffee. This guy that I can't think of his name. These people the guy that claims he shot Osama bin Laden. What's the guy, right-wing Twitter loser who lied about shooting Osama bin Laden. That's his identity. These people they suck. They suck. Their identity is this made up backstory of how manly they are. When in reality, real men don't need a brat. If you're good, if people know you're great, they'll tell you. If you're good, or you're not good, you have to tell everybody else. And that's what they are. Great people we don't need to brag. People see your work ethic, your results. That's your bragging. These people, they need to make themselves seem all tough by shooting guns with their ads or having a girl in a American bikini shooting a gun like the Black Rifle Coffee guy's wife who he cheated on. It's pathetic. They're pathetic losers. Gentleman Skeptic says, I'm convinced Baker is Rogan's handler. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it at all. Once CIA, always CIA. And as you know. Okay, we're almost done here. So let me get back to this. So so the CIA, they trying to find people closest to the model, the rule followers, people that will listen to authority, that to reason is to treason, that mentality. And it makes sense if you think about this, because you don't want people that are questioning what propaganda you're putting out. Like, when I was over in West Germany, I didn't notice that, whatever. So how did the CIA, he did say that the CIA and him didn't love torture, this psychiatrist who was talking about all his secret trips. He says, you can have a blowtorch up someone's ass. He'll give you tactical information, but he won't play the modern espionage game. So you see, the CIA does recognize the benefits of torture, but they don't love it. They'd rather use a truth drug instead of torturing you, because you're not going to get the greatest information from torture. But if that's the only option, they're more than willing to jump down that path. And they like the sheer manipulation through like gaslighting, that the carrot versus the stick method. And they love the mental games, the same games they'd use to recruit agents. That's what they would use to get traitors. Black Rifle Coffee banned me for using CEO's quote on Rittenhouse. Exactly, Flippy Hambone. Vaginas. I'm sorry for my language, everyone. That is what they are. They literally are the biggest wimps in the world. Of course he would block, because they can't, they lack so much confidence that anybody questioning them, even their base, terrifies them. So in developing countries, the CIA, they like to torture there. Not as much in America and the West, but they would use kidnapping, blackmailing, abuse by local police, or they would use the carrot method, providing a scholarship for maybe a family member to study abroad. And this way they could, now your agent, your rat is locked in because you have access to their brother, their kid, their cousin. They're not going to stop being your informant with them when you're in control of their scholarship. But this didn't work as well in the US or Russia, this like violent information gathering. And spycraft, according to the site, is like a doc's bedside manner. Different methods for different types of people. What motivates that? Like, people are motivated by different things. The big guy from BRC that cheated on his wife, yeah, I'm sure that was him. He's such a chotch, dude. Oh my God. Ugh, so exhausting. Okay. All right, come on, Joe. Let's focus here, everybody. All right, I'm getting distracted. I'm just joking. Okay. So the agents had to lie to themselves and in the public, convincing everyone that they were the good guy. Otherwise, the agents couldn't do what needed to be done. So this is a huge part of all the CIA secret agent, good guys movies. They produce this stuff because they need to convince themselves that they are the good guy, that we're doing the right thing. Yes, we might be killing civilians at times, but guys, we're not as bad as the alternative. We're stopping the best. The best defense is a good offense mentality. So they would all like, and we see this all the time, just like that, not Mike Baker, but the other guy. Like, I've heard him on shows like, oh, we don't use negative torture control methods like the bad guy. Like, our waterboarding and stuff, it's not like theirs. It doesn't even hurt you. It's not bad at all. We're not like the bad guys. We're the good guys, just honest spycraft, just eye roll stuff. But they need to do this to tell themselves that they're not evil pieces of shit. They gave the example, and I found this important. They start working with a communist group. One guy they help, maybe he starts in, he's going to inform them. Well, they say, you're trying to rise through the ranks of your communist group. Let's help you remove your competition. We'll put blackmail on them, whatever. We'll get you up there into a power position. They provide money or help his standing in his group, help his family, blah, blah, blah. And so before he knows it, he keeps giving, maybe this guy who's a rat in the beginning said, I just need a little help. I'm not going to give him anything important. I'll give him nonsense. But before he knows it, he knows he's owned. He knows he's beyond screwed, because now they have enough dirt to totally ruin him, if not kill him, if he stops ratting. they could ruin him 10 ways from Wednesday, whatever the saying is. And he realizes this mistake himself. The CIA agent doesn't even need to say, I own you. He'll just realize probably one night sleeping, trying to go to bed. He's like, oh my God, I'm forever a CIA informant. I can't get out. And this happened all the time in the third world. How many people like have been, and how many people in our own community have been given funding, pushed through their channels to raise, audience size, like AJ, like Alex Jones, to raise awareness of them? Probably more than we know. The CIA they fund so many things through. So it wouldn't surprise me at all that like podcasters or some people with large platforms in some way, whether they know it or not, might be providing misinformation, disinformation. But the CIA likes blackmail, and it was used by the Soviets supposedly way more. But there can be side effects of blackmail. And so the CIA, they would use this a lot. They still, Operation Midnight Climax, filming men having sex, posing as prostitutes, committing pedophilia, Bill Gates, Jeffrey Epstein, obviously. But the CIA, they would do this a lot in third world countries. And so they had one guy, the one story was that this guy in a developing country, they provide him with prostitutes. They film him. He wants to stop being a rat. I think it was in the Vietnam when this happened. And they said, well, you want to stop being a rat for us? It'd be a real shame if your wife found these videos of you banging these women, right? That'd be a real shame. And what did the guy do? Do you think he just kept informed? No, he blew his brains out. And with a note that said the CIA caused him to do this. They were blackmailing me. And so the CIA, they brushed this under the rug. I'm sure they would never bring this up anywhere. But this happens over and over again. They use these poor people that are maybe informing for a few dollars, for food, for basic necessities, and they end up killing themselves because the CIA pushes them so hard. Honestly, their tactics consist of purely manipulation. Like if you were in a time in my previous life, I was a very manipulative to women. I would, get them to like me. And with my drugs, I would steal their money. It was horrible. I would rob them constantly and then gaslight them. Like I'd order a pizza because I wouldn't have any food because I was 140 pounds. And they would say, did you use my debit card to buy pizza? And I'd say, no. And, that kind of crazy stuff. And that's the CIA, essentially. That's literally what they're doing. They're just like gaslighting and manipulating these poor people. And just like if you're a guy who's a manipulator of women or a girl who's a manipulator of men, you know how these work. You lead somebody down the road, maybe like you want a girl to do more flashy things in the bedroom or whatever. You really can't just say like, you need to do this. You lead her down that path so she comes to that conclusion. That's what the CIA does. That makes sense, right? I just want you to understand. That's like their tactics. They're taught to monitor telltale signs that a resource may be losing enthusiasm, like being late, nervousness, inconsistency. And the British, they like this long game approach to their rats. They would continue chipping away, whereas the Americans, we just kept searching for this quick fix drug or method. And I found that funny because that is America, right? We love the quick fix. We love the drug, as opposed to the British MI6 and their spycraft work. It was a little different. Dulles, big fan of the big quick fix. Oh, thanks. Flippy says Jack is trustworthy because he's an open book. No duplicity here. Thank you, Hambone. I try to live my life as honestly. See, I lived a life of lies. It's much easier just to be truthful. Lies, you got to remember all your lies, and believe me, no one can remember as many lies as I was telling. So it's much easier to do it this way. And I was going to say, David said, I'm sure most of them somehow have to justify it to themselves. Exactly. So that was it. That's the end of this episode. So part 2 is intelligence on witches potions. So we really didn't get into MK Ultra yet. So I'm just trying to set up. I hope you guys enjoy. I learned so much from these first chapters of how we got to MK Ultra, how we got to dosing prison populations, how we got to dosing college students unknowingly, how we got all these things, and what the logic was to getting there. So part 2, it's a good read. So I'm already I read it on vacation, so I'm almost all done with the book. So I'll do the next episode, maybe sometime next week. Friday, I'm going to do a show with my good buddy What's up, Peanut Puppy? Thanks for coming. Thanks for all your support. But that's the show for everybody. So go follow me on Kojak Podcast. I'm trying to think of, I wanted to say one other story, and I put in my little notes here. Let me see. Dog story, AJ. There's something else I wanted to talk about, but now I can't remember. Cat saves man's life from gun-toting robbers. Hell yeah. Oh, last thing I wanted to say, and then you guys can sign off or whatever. But so the CIA claims that they killed that guy, the terrorist who we've killed 10 times before in articles. And so the CIA, this time we really got him. They claim that the drone thing they used, it wasn't just a warhead or explosives. It was a missile. So they fire the missile. Another missile comes out and it has swords on it, and the swords spin, and that's how they killed the guy. Zawahiri. Thank you, Flippy. What, dude? So just before impact, these 6 blades shoot out like a goddamn ninja sword to kill the person, to kill this guy. I just found that hilarious, because it's again, we were just talking about the poop spray, the who me spray that they spray on the Japanese, and all these funny, and someone said in the chat, said something even hilarious about a CIA op that I forget, but I've talked about this, using the cat, but putting the weed on stones. Hammond says he was killed multiple times while I was in Iraq and Afghanistan. Dude, that's hilarious. Oh my God. Flippy, you got to do a show sometime. But yeah, I just love that somebody was like, yo, hear me out. A drone that has 6 swords that shoots out when it gets close. Dude, that'd be crazy. That's how I know this isn't real, that they didn't kill this guy. If you had the option, you had $1 billion, $trillion drone military industrial complex, are you going to kill somebody with a weapon that shoots swords out of it? What? Are you going to tell me next that you send in ninjas with ninja stars to kill the army? Come on, dude. Exactly, gentleman skeptic. This literally sounds like somebody was and they're drinking. They're like, I got it. A sword bomb. Does it explode? No, it just shoots swords out. Crazy. All right. So that's it, guys. Thanks for all the chat, people. It was so nice to see you guys. I'll be back on Friday with my buddy Scott, and we got a lot of funny things to talk about. And I got a lot of fun topics like articles and stuff, bookmarks, so we can talk then. And I'm back. I'm married. I'm tan. I want to keep this tan. I got to go stand outside some more. It was nice seeing you guys. Much love. Follow me. I'm Jack Allen, Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence, at Kojak Podcast, everywhere except Patreon. That's Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence. Thanks to the support. Thanks to the comments. Somebody recently wrote a nice review. If you can't support the show, I still love you. I'd love you so much. But if you could leave a review, if you haven't, it would really mean a lot. That 2 minutes it would take. Really, I read them all. I share them with my family and stuff. And it makes me happy. So if my show makes you happy, if you learn something, please leave a review. All right, guys, I'm Jack Allen. God bless. I love you all. I'm glad to be back. Glad to see you. Hambone, Dave, Peanut, Gentleman Skeptic, New Dude. Thank you. Dave Bruce, what's up? All the people that are in. Carl, if you're still here, Brian, all the homies, Barbara, all the homies. Thank you for coming in. We'll talk. I'll see you guys Friday. All right. Peace.